students, by tomorrow, the seventh day of the week, while today is Friday, the whole of the first week in 2023 comes to an end, even while there were issues between Jeremiah and some of extreme people which had to fall under Jeremiah, or Jeremiah fell under. Quran 60 verse 1 yet tells us about the enemies of both the federal government, states, and local government, wards, district, area, command, B1, like that of Atom Police Station. Yet, the standardization of it is what can we achieve in first 7 days of a year. I have you, Romani, and Lost Barak on rerunning the 44th this Friday before the economy, financial, and crime courts. And I would like to introduce you to this few decision.
The Obama campaign wrong to continue to criticize Romney's record at Bain County?
Not necessarily. It depends on the facts of the case. That's what I tried to say in the CNN interview. The equity business can be good if you buy. I've got a friend who buys failing companies, and he tries to turn them around. And he's turned a bunch of them around, but not all of them. So sometimes he tried and failed. The effort was honorable. That's a good thing. There are lots of examples over the last 20 years where people used equity to take control of companies, got the companies in greater debt, looted the assets, caused more people to be fired, and in some cases compromised the pensions. That's a bad thing. That's when you're buying something and looting it because you can. I didn't have any idea when I was given that answer that I was wading into some controversy in the campaign because I haven't seen the ads and I'm not following it and I'm not really part of it. But you'd have to know about a specific case to know whether it was a good or a bad thing. But there are a lot of good people in that business doing good things. That's the point I was making. But it's much more relevant to look at what he did as governor and what he proposes to do as president. Even though most people are very cynical about us politicians, I'm not in this business anymore, I can say this, there's an astonishing consistency throughout history with people running for president actually doing their best to do what they said they'd do when they ran. And in the few glaring exceptions, we're almost always glad. Like Franklin Roosevelt promised to balance the budget. He got in, there was a depression, he realized he couldn't. We're glad he didn't. Abraham Lincoln promised in his first campaign for president not to free the slaves. We're glad he didn't keep that commitment. But by and large, people do what they say they're going to do.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I still have it more or less in the racks. Looked expecting King Bush and Angela Merkel as of a symbol of a fundamental commencement of Lutz transformation constitutionally as a branch and headquarter of the world governments, as also the planet's first general spirit. Looking at issues at Africa, that if you can cross river, you actually might add, civilize yourself to a degree in life. And that's why I'm working on this.
President George W. Bush doesn't give many interviews anymore, but because of his special relationship to Chancellor Angela Merkel, he invited us to his summer home in Maine. We talked about the past and the future of the transatlantic relationships, Angela Merkel's take on China, on Russia. He also explained how he felt when he was rubbing her shoulders. President Bush, you have met Chancellor Angela Merkel so many times. Do you recall kind of a defining moment?
You know, the last time I saw her was defining because she flew all the way over to my dad's funeral. And we're at the Blair House, which is right across the street from the White House. My whole family was there. And somebody said, Angela Merkel would like to call on you. And it just meant a lot. You know, it was very close to my dad. And the fact that she would take time to come really defined, I think, our relationship. She's a very thoughtful, kind person. And I think another time was at the ranch. We've got a ranch we love in Central Texas. And she and Professor Sauer came to visit Laura and me. And I remember she and I walked across our prairie. We went for probably an hour walk or so, just visiting about a variety of things. And it was an opportunity not to conduct diplomacy, but an opportunity to get to know her, get to know each other better. And that was kind of a defining moment, too.
You painted a portrait of her. I'm sure all that kind of is seen in this portrait. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the process and the picture itself.
Sure. Well, you know, I was a new painter, so I was a little worried about making sure I captured the person that I was trying to paint. And in Angela's case, I wanted to paint a kind person with a lovely soul. And that's the person I got to know. I mean, she's plenty tough in order to survive in what was a man's world, German politics, for a long time. She's got to be pretty tough. And she's resolute. But I also saw a side of her that was very compassionate and decent. And that's what I try to do in the portrait. I hope she likes it. In other words, you can tell the people I had great respect for and liked, and some of them, yeah, I wasn't too close to when you look at the portraits I painted. And hers is one of, on the plus side. I liked her a lot.
Talking about more complicated relationships, the relationship with Gerhard Schröder, that's her predecessor, at the end was a little bit icy.
Very icy, yeah.
Which role did your personal relationship with Angela Merkel play for the improvement of the transatlantic relationship?
Well, I think, Gerhard Schroeder used me as a political pawn on his re-election. And
therefore, I try to put all this together to make actual sense by applying one verse or the other. Psalm 103, verse 10. He had not dealt with us after our sin, nor rewarded us according to our iniquity. 11. For as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is his mercy towards them that fears him. His fear would then go along that we can be able to establish such an intercontinental transition by broadcasting Job 23, verses 12. Neither love I got back from the commandments of his lips. I have esteemed the words of his mouth more than my necessary food. For you are the light of the world, a city set on high hill, for in him dwell all the fullness of Godhead body, and yet are complete in him, which in the head of all the principalities and power. On the next year, I wish you a happy moment in your studies, knowing fully well that these decisions of President Clinton, President George Bush, Romney, and Barack Obama put back the possibility of his death if the 44th is in really wrong, better. There's a mistake somewhere and around. This is Friday, the day of justice. These are a few messages I had today. Remember to always keep God to first place in your heart and in everything you lay hands on in your studies. Don't forget to go to the atom policy stations. It's the sure only way to Paris Federation. I wish you all good luck.